Hey everybody, my name is Louis Loco and welcome to my attempts at a bug-type only hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon White 2. At this point you've seen over 100 different hardcore Nuzlocke videos, but for those of you who don't know, the rules are as follows. 1. I can only catch the first bug type of each route or area. 2. Any Pokemon that faints is considered dead. 3. No items in battle, held items are okay. 4. Set mode is on, no free switches. And number 5, no over leveling. In addition to these rules, I also use the species and dupes clause just to simplify things. With the rules now out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. When you think of your favorite Pokemon type, you probably have some of the more common ones like Dragon or Fire. You might even say Water or Electric. And I'd wager that the bug type isn't that cool to you. Well, bucko, I'm here to prove to you that's wrong. Bug type Pokemon are freaking amazing despite having the lowest average base stat total. These dudes are versatile, available, and have some of the best freaking designs in Pokemon, period. I mean, look at Volcarona and tell me that this freaking Fire Moth isn't badass. Or tell me that this cute little Joltik isn't cute. Point is, bug-type Pokemon are probably the coolest Pokemon types out there, and there is no greater statement to this truth than the entirety of Gen 5. Gen 5 is chock full of absolutely great bug-type Pokemon that cover a wide spectrum of types. In this run alone, I'll have about 11 great bug-type options. Now, unfortunately, Karrablast and Shelmet are pretty much useless as I can't get trait evolutions, and Durant isn't available until we've defeated the Pokemon League. That still leaves us with 6 fully evolved lines with unique typings and 2 strong single lines in the form of Pinsir and Heracross. With that out of the way, let's dive into the horror that was my attempts at a White 2 bug-only hardcore Nuzlocke. Originally, this was going to be a Black 2 attempt on challenge mode. Heracross is way easier to encounter in Black 2 than in White 2, where you have to hope and pray to the Pokegods to find him, as opposed to just capturing him in the Lostlorn Forest like any other Pokemon. You'll see quickly why this changed. My first attempt went by smoothly at first. I caught myself a cute old Sewaddle I named Molly, took on Cheren without too much difficulty, Bug Bite coming in clutch to snap away any of Cheren's berries. From there, I made my way to Verbank, trained Molly the Sewaddle until I hit the level cap, and went on to challenge Roxy. This is where the first attempt ended. See, despite my best preparations, with Sewaddle and Venipede being on the same route, I could only catch one or the other, which left me to take on not only Cheren with one Pokemon, but Roxy and Berg as well. At least until I could catch Dwebble at the Desert Resort. Playing in challenge mode not only meant that all the trainers have higher levels, but it also meant that gym leaders would get an additional Pokemon plus more held items and better moveset, which meant that even if Koffing hadn't gotten a crit there, as you could see, thanks to Sewaddle's weakness to poison, it would have not survived another Venoshock, let alone any from Grimer or Whirlipede. So ends the first attempt. Believe me, there are multiple timelines where Max Happiness Return does nothing to Koffing. This meant I had to touch up my strategy a bit. I could have bent the rules and allowed myself to catch Sewaddle and Venipede on Route 2, but I mean, then it wouldn't be a Nuzlocke, so what's the point? So this time, I decided to go for the Venipede encounter. The only issue here being that I could not encounter Venipede until I defeated Cheren. So I took him on with Snivy the Box Lass, and once it completed, ran over and got myself Molly the Venipede. This time, things went by rather smoothly thanks to Venipede's poison type and use of rollout. Perfect! All it took were some defensive curls to boost defense and rollout damage, and the second badge became Mars without too much trouble. Which is when the second attempt came to an end. Battling Berg was an absolute nightmare. The man had a Dwebble that knew Rock Blast for Arceus' sake. Not to mention a Karrablast with Aerial Ace and 2 more threats in the form of Shelmet and Leavanny. I also couldn't unfortunately pass into the Desert Resort to catch myself a Dwebble either, because I had to defeat Berg first, which of course was not happening. Listen, I'm an idiot. I tried to plan things out the best as I could, but challenge mode proved too difficult for me. There could have been something I didn't know, maybe a strategy I hadn't considered, but so ended the second attempt. Let me know what you think in the comment section below as I dive into the third attempt. From here, I switched to White 2 to sort of hamper myself, as Kyurem White is more of a threat to bug-type Pokemon than Kyurem Black. Plus, Pinsir doesn't have the cool bug-fighting type of Heracross, sort of a way of saying sorry for not doing this in challenge mode. So with my third attempt, with my strategy of catching Venipede refined, I catch myself one I call Michael, and Michael has a hardy nature, which is neutral, so not bad, not good either. My man's nature is frickin' Sweden. From here, Charon and Roxy fell with relative ease, and after some plasma shenanigans in the Castelia sewers, it came time to take on Berg. Swadloon watched on as I set up defense curls and proceeded to roll all over Berg's team with some pretty brutal rollouts. A critical hit cut from Leavenin made me gulp, but he fell, and with that, the third gym badge was mine. With the way no longer being barred, I could finally venture into the desert resort to catch myself a cute little crab I nicknamed Murphy. Murphy has a quiet nature, which means plus special attack minus speed, so it doesn't really matter considering how Dwebble and Crustle are pretty slow pokes anyway. The next encounter was a Swadloon at Lostlorn Forest. I nicknamed her Molly, and she has a lax nature, plus defense minus special defense, which will actually come in handy when facing Clay. So with half the roster now being filled, I level up my Whirlipede until it evolves into Scolipede, and it comes time to take on Eliza. Thanks to Dwebble learning Stealth Rock, I have some tools to punish Eliza for going for her cheap Volt Switch strat. I begin the battle by laying down some Stealth Rocks while Eliza starts her Volt Switching train. Dwebble takes the hit pretty well, and then Flaffy comes charging in. Surprisingly, even despite its minus speed nature, Dwebble beats Flaffy to the punch and a dig hits it pretty good. Flaffy goes to a Thunder Wave while I go for a Rock Slide because I just know the Flying Rat is about to come in. As predicted, the Flying Rat comes out, and thanks to Stealth Rock damage and a stab boosted Rock Slide, Imoga is out of the fight. Flaffy comes out again as I switch out Dwebble for Scolipede. Flaffy goes for a Volt Switch of course, and out comes Zebstrika. Now, I know this thing has a lovely little citrus berry on it, so I go for the MVP move of the early game, Bug Bite, to not only take it away, but to eat it right in their freaking faces. Scolipede, being the big champ that he is, deals some pretty decent damage, and after a Hyper Potion from Eliza and a couple of Poison Towels, Zebstrika is done. Flaffy comes out like a lamb to the slaughter as rocks dig into its souls and a Poison Tail takes it out, earning ourselves the 4th gym badge. Now, before facing Clay, I need to prep a bit. I ride around on my bike for a long time to get Swadloon's happiness up, and after another level, it evolves into the wonderful Leavenin. Soon after, I catch myself a Carablast that I name Fodder, and after coughing up some yellow shards for Leavenin to learn Seed Bomb, I decide it's time to take on Clay. I equipped Leavenin with Bright Powder before the battle, which raises her evasion by 10%, hoping that the 10% does enough of a difference to prevent her from getting hit. Clay leads with Krokorok as I lead with Scolipede. Thanks to it being part Dark type, a nasty Bug Bite leaves more than just a fading scab. Then Excadrill comes out as I go for another Bug Bite to eat its juicy citrus berry. Now this thing has Rock Slide, as does everyone and their mother in this godforsaken game, so I have to be careful. I don't want Scolipede to die, so to get a clean switch, I switch him out for Fodder, the Carablast, as a token of appreciation to Clay, and probably a forgiveness too. Of course, Fodder dies immediately, which lets me send in Leavenin all nice and clean. I go for a Protect, fearing a Rock Slide, and then go for a Seed Bomb. Amazingly, a Bulldoze misses, thank you Bright Powder, and another Seed Bomb takes out Excadrill. Lastly is Clay's Sandslash, but at this point it doesn't matter. More Seed Bombs take out Sandslash, and with that we have our 5th gym badge. With another major barrier out of the way, I rush over to Chargestone Cage to catch myself the cutest little electric bug spider known to man, Joltik, and name it Elaine. Elaine has a calm nature plus special defense minus attack, which doesn't matter as much as I plan to focus more on special attack moves and utility. Once our cute little bug is acquired, it came time to head on to the depths of Relic Castle to obtain ourselves the most badass bug Pokemon ever, Volcarona. I can still remember venturing deeper into Relic Castle in Pokemon Black and finding myself face to face with a freaking fire moth. In my mind, Volcarona is an honorary legendary, and his stats certainly make that a pretty good argument. So with that, Harry the Volcarona joins the team, and he has a hasty nature, plus speed minus defense, which is pretty good. Volcarona has a decent speed. With the team more or less complete, I make my way to Mistralton City. On the way, Joltik evolves into the amazing Galvantula, and after some more training, meet the level cap. Now, you'd think a flying type gym would offer up more of a challenge. I mean, after all, birds and bugs do not get along at all. That simply isn't the case here. With Murphy the Crustle taking the lead, I set up some Stealth Rocks to severely damage any incoming Birdos. Swoopat deals some respectable damage, but a Rock Slide takes it out. And after that, Skarmory descends into battle, which means it's time to have fun. I switch out Murphy for Elaine, and 2 Electro Webs and Electro Ball destroy Skarmory. Skyla's last poke is a Swanna, and with its 4 times weakness to Electrate, it gets obliterated by an Electro Web. And with that, the easiest gym is defeated and the 6th gym badge is ours. Huh, who would have guessed? After some more Neoplasma brouhaha, I actually ran into a Pinsir and a female Combee. Feeling that Combee could prove a little bit more useful and another bulky member wouldn't hurt, I caught Mab the Combee. With a bold nature plus defense minus attack, I felt pretty good with the new member and promptly evolved it into Mab the Vespiquen. The next gym is Drayden and his dragon types, which really love having rock type moves. I had to really think this one through, as none of the team knew or could know any ice or dragon type moves. So after brainstorming, I settled for something a little different. Freaking Shell Smash Crustle. Shell Smash completely, dramatically increases both attack, special attack, and speed in favor of dramatically decreasing defense and special defense. I decided to go with this because I felt that even despite those drops, Crustle could take a hit and it could certainly deliver one. I legit spent hours trying to go, what the fuck am I gonna do? Until I thought of this and I was like, hey, that'll actually work. So, heart skill in hand, I flew to Driftvale and made Murphy remember the move that would make her a goddess. Despite the team's weaknesses in the prevalence of rock, fire, and flying type moves, the team handled itself pretty well, as you can see here. It's all about really trying really hard to avoid fights, and believe me, a lot of them. Seriously, I must have left at least 90% of all backpackers and martial artists alone as I ran away from them strategically. Anyways, the battle with Drayden begins, and after 2 shell smashes, Murphy sweeps Drayden with X scissors. It really makes one wonder how Crustle looks underneath that shell. Ah well, that's the 7th gym badge right there. Shortly after defeating Drayden, a freaking terrorist attack happens. I mean, geez, Game Freak, at least a couple hundred or so people are freaking popsicles. Not all of them were inside, you know. So after dealing with Neoplasma and some Splicer Doohickey being stolen from Drayden, we can move on towards Humalao City to challenge Marlin. Marlin is pretty darn easy. Now that Molly the Leavanny knows Swords Dance, it's a simple matter of setting one up to sweep his team. I lead with Leavanny as he leads with his Caracosta. It goes for a Shell Smash, but because it is darn slow due to being a turtle, Molly outspeeds it and deals massive damage with Leaf Blade. It survives thanks to Surdy, and a retaliatory smackdown deals decent damage. Marlin heals Caracosta back up with a Hyper Potion, but it's pretty much a futile attempt as Leaf Blade cuts Marlin's team into ribbon. The Jellicent is no danger at all due to it having Cursed Body, so with that, the 8th gym is completed, and we have our 8th gym badge. Soon after is a whole lot of plasma stuff. Most of it is never an issue, but Colress, Kyurem, and Geshis make the preparation somewhat of a challenge. Steel resisting bug means we only have 2 ways to deal with it. Earth type moves from Michael and Murphy, and devastating fire blasts from Harry. Thankfully, with a powerhouse like Harry, there really never is much of a fight. So begins the battle with Colress, as I lead with trusty old Michael. Dig deals some good damage to Magneton, and thanks to Cherryberry, Michael shaves off the paralysis. With a bulldoze, Magneton is down, and a Magnezone comes out. I go for the same with a Dig, dealing significant damage, but Sturdy keeps it alive. Sadly, another Thunder Wave makes our Motorbug settle down as a Flash Cannon hits for a pretty good chunk of damage, and I'm forced to switch. I bring Harry in, who takes out Magnezone with a single Silver Wind, and then Metang comes out to be turned into Molten Metal as a Fire Blast slams right into it. The last opposing Pokemon to come out is Beheeyem. Now, Volcarona isn't a terribly tanky Pokemon, and fearing that whatever hits it with a crit is enough to kill it, I prepare to make a sacrifice. So I switch Harry out for Elaine to paralyze Beheeyem, and after a brutal Psychic, she survives. Nice. I then send in Mab with a very powerful strat I prepared with Beheeyem paralyzed and now under Mab's Spell of Love. Chances of it making a single move is rather low. A Bug Buzz and an attack order take it out, and thus the battle ends. The next obstacle is the legendary Kyurem that has spliced itself with Reshiram. So with Ice Burn and Fusion Fail, Kyurem White makes for a pretty scary threat to our bug type team, which is why it gets completely bodied by a single electric bug spider 5 levels below it. I mean, after a Thunder Wave and multiple Signal Beams, it just falls without any fight. Talk about sad. Anyways, next is Geshis, and the strategy was nothing short of brilliant, if I do say so myself. Still leading with Elaine, I hit Cofagrigus with a Thunder Wave and then switch into Molly, who uses an Attract on him. Between Paralysis and Declarations of Love, Molly is able to set up sword dances without an issue. I figured that a stabbed Leaf Blade would do wonders, and it does! It even crits. From there, Electros goes down, as does Seismitoad, and a crit X-Scissor decimates Drapion. Croagunk takes a Leaf Blade to the face, and the all-physical Hydreigon that's level 52, hey that's cheating, misses his one chance at taking down Molly. Thus, one last X-Scissor ends the battle. With Neoplasma and Yeshus defeated, there's nothing else barring our way. We make our way towards Victory Road and the League. What follows is a lot of dodging trainers. I mean, seriously, Unova loves arming everyone with bug coverage, so I had to be really careful about picking my fights. So, after making my way through Victory Road and dealing with the mandatory trainers near the top, we face off against Hugh for the last time. Now, you haven't seen much of Hugh, and that's because as a threat and challenge, he doesn't really rank up there, even with an Emboar on his team. I mean, the dude only has freaking 4 Pokemon. I can't take that seriously, especially when one of them is a water monkey. So, as you can see, Murphy wipes up Hugh, and with that, Hugh is defeated, and it has finally come time to face off against the Elite Four and the champion. Thankfully, compared to the rest of the game, the Elite Four is surprisingly really manageable. I mean, 3 of the 4, Grimsley, Caitlyn, and Chantal can be dealt with pretty easily, with Marshall being the only problem that I can see. So I start by challenging Chantal. I lead with Elaine, wanting to set up my whole seductive charm strat again, but unfortunately, this Cofagrigus is female, which means that it won't work this time around. In the end, it doesn't matter, as with 2 Swords Dances and a Rossberry to protect from the Will-O-Wisp, I clean out Chantal's team, despite still getting burned by Chandelure's flame body. With that, there's 1 down and 3 to go. Next up is Grimsley, that old chap. He reminds me an awful lot of Edward Scissorhands for some reason. The battle begins with Grimsley leading with a flimsy old cat that slaps Elaine around. She takes it out with a single signal beam, and Grimsley then sends out his Scrafty. A Thunder Wave paralyzes the Scrafty, and with that I switch out into Mab. Sadly, once again, Scrafty is a female, so Mab, the Queen of Air and Darkness, can't really do much. But I did pay up with a Heart Scale for it to remember Confuse Ray. My thought process here was paralysis plus confusion plus attraction equals no fun or moves for the enemy. So after using Confuse Ray, I should have gone for an Air Slash, but because I happen to have an IQ lower than the average, I don't do that, instead wasting turns with Healer until I decide to use Air Slash to take Scrafty out. Then Krookodile comes out, and I make sure to drop a Confuse Ray before switching out into Harry. Thankfully, Krookodile hits himself like an idiot, and Harry takes him out with a single Silver Wind. Harry reaches level 59, and with that, he learned Quiver Dance. Now, I know what you're thinking, level 59, that means you can't use him. Bullshit. I'm of the Flygon HG school of, once I made it to the Elite Four, it ends. Anyways, last out is Bisharp, but with a single Flamethrower, it takes care of that, and so 2 Elite Four remain. Next up is Caitlyn in her pretty pink flower bed. Caitlyn leads with her Sleeping Fetus. Won't really do much to prevent us from setting up some Quiver Dances. I go for one as it yawns at me, but a well-prepared Chestoberry takes care of that, and with 2 Quiver Dances set up, it's as simple as mashing the A button. Any Mucky could do this. 3 down, 1 to go. Leading with Murphy, I set up some Stealth Rocks to ensure that the Sock, who has Sturdy, doesn't stick around after to completely demolish Volcarona with a Rock Tomb or Slide. Once that's set up, I switch into Elaine to use Thunder Wave, despite knowing that it has guts. I know. I need to make sure it doesn't kill Harry with one Rock Tomb. I switch into Mab, who hits it with a Confuse Ray. She takes the heavy hit, but her job is finished, and I switch into Harry, who sets up a single Quiver Dance as Throw is paralyzed. And with that, Marshall is swept by Volcarona equipped with a Twisted Spoon to give that Psychic some extra oomph. So with all 4 elites defeated, the time has come to deal with Iris. After heading up some stairs that seem to go on forever, we finally make it to Iris, and so the final battle begins. Leading with Elaine, I Thunder Wave Hydreigon, and accepting that some sacrifices would have to be made, prepare for Elaine to die. Except she doesn't. She takes the Flamethrower pretty well. So I send in Murphy to lay down some Stealth Rocks to deal with Iris' Focus Sash Haxorus, and unfortunately she takes a Brutal Surf on the switch in, and unfortunately what follows next requires a clean switch. So it happens that Murphy gives her life so Harry could soar. Harry comes out to avenge Murphy, and after setting up 4 Quiver Dances, the sweep begins. We get some rather overkill crits, and with that, the run, a nightmare of avoidance and care, is finished. Pretty melodramatic, I know, but I loved every second of it, and despite bug types being pretty frail, and the prevalence of rocks and fire and flying, I wouldn't have wished for it any other way, as this run was very satisfying to play through, even with all the anxiety that. So it goes to show that the littlest critters are also the hardiest. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Drop a like, comment, and subscribe if you really enjoyed it. If you didn't, don't. And before it truly ends, the next video is a Pokemon Y Flying Only Hardcore Nuzlocke, so stay tuned for that. Adios!